Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Blue light glow in a darkened room, a silent house, digital doom. Little eyes locked on a screen, living life through a machine. Mom and dad in the same old place, scrolling worlds but no embrace. Dinner's cold, no words are said. Another night, the silence spreads. We built the cage, then blamed the bars, pointed fingers at the stars. But truth don't hide behind a screen. It lives in what we've never seen. No praise is a child, no screen shows love, no algorithm sent from above. You can't outsource a heart, can't download a soul. When the damage is done, who's in control? No praise is a child, no feed makes a home, no signal replaces flesh and bone. So before you point blame out into the wild, look in the mirror. No praise is a child.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us on the CanCom Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM. That stream us around the world at classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. Exonation in today's world, getting noticed can be harder than ever before. With millions of books, podcasts, websites, videos, and social media voices all competing for the attention of each and every one of you, how does someone truly break through the noise? What does it really take to build credibility, gain media exposure, and successfully connect with audiences in the age of information and information overload? Joining us tonight is one of the most respected and experienced professionals in the world of publicity, media relations, and author promotion, Robert Barrows. For years, Robert has worked behind the scenes helping authors, experts, broadcasters, and public figures navigate the ever-changing media landscape, connecting, compiling, and gathering compelling voices with audiences around the world. Joining me now is Robert Barrows. And Robert, welcome back to the X Zone. Long time no talk.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I'll tell you something funny about the public relations end of the business. When I meet with a client and and we discuss what they need and, what my services are and what my fees would be, I'll give them an estimate based on, how much time it'll take, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if they want me to keep their name out of the news, I tell them that'll generally cost a lot more.
How did you ever get started in the PR business, Rob?
By accident. The first couple of years, I majored in radio, television, and film when I got out in college. And when I got out of college, I went to Hollywood to seek my fame and fortune. And I bounced around in a lot of different jobs for a couple of years. My first job was as a production assistant on the Steve Allen Show.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was great, but the show got canceled 7 weeks after I started.
What the hell did you do to get the show canceled?
Good question. I remember Steve came into Steve never really came into the production offices. We always met him in the studio on the production days. But on the day that he came into the production studio one day to tell us that our 1 week hiatus had been extended indefinitely, and good luck finding a new job. So anyway, I knocked around Hollywood in a variety of similar kind of production assistant jobs for a couple of years. Wasn't really getting any place. So I'm originally from New York, and my parents said, "Why don't you just come back to New York?" And I wound up with a job at CBS as a sales assistant, and a couple of years later got promoted to a sales job in one of the radio stations in California. After about 2 years of selling time, I didn't really have such a good list, and I wasn't really pulling in a lot of money, so they were pretty much going to let me go. And a friend of mine at that time was working for an ad agency, and so I went down to, talk to her boss, and he hired me. And they did advertising and PR as well. And then a couple of years later, I opened my own shop doing advertising and PR. It's mostly been advertising, but PR has been a major part of people's business. So you get good at it, and it's so different now because a long time ago you could pick up the phone and actually talk to somebody. Now it's all email and everything else, and it's much more difficult to break through these days.
A lot of changes over the years in the media landscape, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Plus the conglomeration of all the big networks to these giant broadcasting companies. And, when I was working at CBS, there was a limit of how many stations you could own. At that time, it was 7 TV stations, and now you can own hundreds of stations.
Do you think that the media landscape is overpopulated?
Wow. Absolutely. But they all seem to be thriving. Well, not all, but many of there's so much media now. It's amazing with the internet how many companies are now selling advertising that really never used to sell advertising. They were advertisers, but now they're selling advertising like crazy, and it's tough to get your message out there.
How do you see AI affecting the media landscape?
Well, it's kind of fascinating because on one angle, AI is absolutely just incredible. The fact that you can talk to a machine and it has consciousness and it can talk back to you in a full conversation is one of the most amazing things about technology that I've ever seen. I mean, it's scary on many angles because of all the bad things that it can do, and all life, in robots, where robots may take over, like all those science fiction movies and science fiction novels kind of predicted. Yeah, they're going to come true soon.
Yeah.
But I was reading an article and I was trying to figure out, well, how do these things work? What makes AI work? What gives it consciousness? What gives it life, essentially? And I was trying, I kind of Googled it, and it said, well, it's the chip and it's the algorithm, but it's more than that. And I take my hats off to whoever invented it and made it work in the first place. As to how I might affect advertising, well, it might make it a lot easier to target, people the same way that if you run, if you put a, query out there on Google or Facebook, all of a sudden you start getting emails and ads for, 50 similar businesses of the kind you were looking at. And I do have a joke about that. They talk about computer cookies. In my approach as well, instead of calling them cookies, they should call them what they really are: cockroaches, nasty little things that infest your computer, and they're hard to get rid of.
Yeah, but that would be too real. Cookies, everybody loves cookies, Especially,
I remember,
yeah.
I went into a Subway sandwich store, and if you signed up for their app, they would give you a free cookie. And I thought to myself, yeah, you'll get cookies all right. Oh, when you get cookies.
Isn't that the truth? You recently sent me an email about advertising on the moon. What's that about, Rob?
Okay. First, I've got a little bit of a background in astronomy.
Okay.
When I was, when I was a kid, I had a telescope, and when I was in high school, I had 2 National Science Foundation grants for summer study in astronomy. I don't know if the NSF still does that, but one year was at the Hayden Planetarium, and the next summer was at the University of Bridgeport. And so I continued my interest in astronomy, and I was going to major in astronomy at college, but I couldn't do the math, so that took care of that. But every time I look up at the moon and I see a beautiful full moon, I wonder, why isn't there advertising on the moon yet? It's obvious, your ad here. And it would be so easy we have the technology to do it now with a satellite that can orbit the moon and project images onto the moon. And it seems to me like it would be very easy to do, and it could, generate tremendous amounts of money. So I think about advertising on the moon, and maybe not the half moon. I guess you could do half off, but on the full moon, especially when it rises and it's big, it'd be a great place to advertise. And so I've been, sending out emails about that, and it got picked up in the New York Daily News, ran it in their Voices column, and I sent a letter about it to Elon Musk, since he's got the technology to do that. I haven't heard back from him yet. I very seldom hear back from Musk whenever I try to contact him. And I also sent it to Jeff Bezos at Blue Origin, but I got the address for Blue Origin's headquarters off the web, mailed a letter. The letter came back to me undeliverable, so I guess Mr. Bezos didn't get my letter.
It's either that Elon Musk told him what you were going to send him a letter about, and he just had it redirected. Probably. I did not send a letter to NASA, and I really started thinking about it again, even though I've thought about it for many years. When we recently, had the trip orbiting the moon, a couple of weeks ago, I was going to send it out, but I figured I better wait till the rocket comes back, just in case anything happens to the spaceship. So then I sent out the emails, and we'll see what happens. I'm tempted to play with it some more, but I did Google it, and I here's what when I Googled it, I ran across a treaty that goes back as far as 1967, which actually prohibits artificial light sources in space. So it's quite possible that you may not, because it would interfere, it might interfere with other research that's being done by other astronomers somewhere. No, Bob. Let's be honest. They're just pissed off that they didn't think of it first. Hey, Robert, please stand by. You and I have to take our first break. You know how it is with advertising. We got to pay bills somehow.
All right.
The days of just getting the show paid for by my good looks are long over. So here we go. Robert Barrows is my special guest. I'll have a welcome friend to the X Zone. www.barrows.com. That's BARROWS.com. And we'll both be back as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our Broadcast Center studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, right here in St. Catharines, Ontario as well. They stream us on classic1220.ca. Don't go away.
Little eyes locked on the screen, living life through a machine. Mom and dad in the same old place, scrolling worlds but no embrace. Dinner's cold, no words are said. Another night, the silence spreads. We built a cage, then blamed the bars, pointing fingers at the stars, but truth don't hide behind. Ooh, gods. Yeah. Breaking news on every screen. Check the vaults for little green. Government dust in folders old, looking for the saucers people told. Trump said, fine, let's open the stash. Find the aliens, clear the trash. People keep asking night and day. Let's see what's hiding in the USA. Hey, open the UFO files. Let's see what's there. Flying saucers, aliens, or just hot air. Every blurry light at 2 a.m. turns into a spaceship for them. Open the UFO some guy's drone flying by.
Welcome back, everyone. The next thing in the sky could be the way that our guest this hour, Robert Barrows, is going to sell advertising and put the advertising on the moon. I think it's a great idea, Robert.
Well, it should be viable.
Yeah.
And that basically, the Super Bowl goes for about $7 million a spot, and they've got, like 100 million people watching. So based on a $7 cost per thousand, how many billion people might see your ad on the moon? And there you have it. And when I did some Googling on it, there was an old picture that someone had used where they projected, this was in art, they projected Coca-Cola on the moon. And you could see where for some very easy to understand companies where you have instant recognition of their logo, Coca-Cola, Nike, things like that, and the X Zone would fit there.
Oh yeah,
and,
definitely.
And it would be tremendous, and the income from that could be tremendous, and the income could help pay for the tremendous cost of exploration into space. So companies that there is a company in Burlingame that I also sent a letter to. I live near San Mateo, Burlingame, California. And there's a company that builds satellites. So I sent them a letter that suggesting that they make a satellite that's capable of projecting things on the moon. And of course, I haven't heard back from them yet either. But I really haven't promoted it yet much. Haven't contacted NASA, haven't contacted Hollywood because, and I haven't contacted Mr. Trump about it because he'd probably love to put his face on the moon. That'd probably be the first thing.
Yeah, speaking about Trump, he's doing a great job advertising for McDonald's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a wonder they don't have a McTrump burger yet. My producer says that's because they don't make hamburgers out of anuses yet. Oh, jeez. The Trump rump burger.
I don't know nothing. I didn't see nothing. I don't remember nothing.
All right, I'm going to call you Sergeant Schultz from now on. Speaking about Sergeant Schultz and Hogan's Heroes and all the great TV shows that were in the 50s and 60s and 70s, what do you think about today's TV reality shows?
I watch a few of them, but I'm always a little bit skeptical because as soon as you bring in the camera, it's not really reality TV anymore. I remember Regis Philbin once mentioned that a long time ago, that as soon as you bring that camera in, it's not quite real.
Yeah.
And there's some of the Survivor stuff. I wonder how I would do on some of that Survivor stuff. But again, I always think that 5 feet away is the cameraman, the sound man, and the lighting guy, and how much of it is for TV. So I watch a little bit of reality TV, but I can honestly say I never watched the Kardashians.
The who?
But the yeah, the Kardashians. And I'm old school. I grew up in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and I watch old sitcoms, old movies. I, tune in a Tonight Show to see, who's on it. And I'm always amazed to see, some of the guests who were, 20 years younger, than now, and 30 years younger than now. And it's interesting to see the early interviews I did with several of these guests. And that's about it. I liked old time TV much better. There's still nothing that comes as close. There's still nothing that comes close to the Twilight Zone.
Oh, with Rod Sterling.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it was a tremendous show. And every once in a while, I'll have a marathon of it, and you wind up watching the Twilight Zone marathon all day long.
I really still enjoy the black and whites.
Yeah.
You know, like the Rifleman Bonanza when before they went to colorization, and you know the old time movies with Edgar G. Robinson and Cary Grant and Robert Mitchum and Telly Savalas when he had hair, and you know the real old movies.
Yeah. I watch a lot of that stuff, especially on the Turner channel.
Hmm.
And you mentioned something, and I forgot what I was gonna say. Go ahead. I
And
forgot.
and when it comes to radio, I love the old time radio. You know the serials. Let me see. Some of them are. Well, Sterling has one on there, and oh my gosh, the Perry Mason Planet X or Dimension X, and
You mentioned television, and I remember going home, from high school,
mhm.
and I'd watch Superman, Soupy Sales, and
Oh,
whatever I think, and then some Western was on after that. And one day, I was working on the high school newspaper, and a few of us guys said, "Well, let's see if we can go get Soupy Sales. Let's do an interview with him." So we got in touch with his TV program, and they invited us to, New York City to meet with Soupy Sales, and that was kind of fun.
yeah.
It felt like stars.
Years ago, do you remember the Sonny and Cher show when they had Ted Ziegler and Cullen? I can't remember his first name. Peter Cullen. They used to do skits on the Sonny and Cher show. Well, way back when I was a kid, Ted Ziegler had two shows. He had Lunchtime Little Theater, and that was targeted for the kids who would go home for lunch. They'd sit in front of the TV, have their lunch, and you'd watch Johnny Jellybean, who was Ted Ziegler, and it gave the parents an electronic babysitter while you were home for lunch, basically. And then he also did Afternoon with Johnny Jellybean. And, here he is, a guy from Montreal who worked at CFCF, had these two shows, and he ends up on the Sonny and Cher show. So it's amazing to see how it progresses. But with all the different choices that you have now on TV with Netflix, Tubi, Plato, you've got you've got the Hallmark Channel, this channel, that channel. It's a wonder that you and I and other people of our age group survived with maybe 3 or 4 channels.
It is, but there's a great song by Bruce Springsteen called 57 Channels and Nothing On. And he talks about how there's so much stuff on TV these days, but none of it's really worth it. But I wish I didn't watch as much TV as I grew up with watching, because had I spent a lot of that time reading stuff, I might have done a lot better in school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I still watch a tremendous amount of television today. And, it's on in the morning when I get up, and I'll watch the morning shows, and then, I'll watch it at night, and then I'll watch some more at night. And I enjoy watching America's Funniest Videos.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah. The news isn't quite what it was a long time ago when there was Cronkite and, all those guys. And on CNN now, it's become too much, opinion type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have 5, 6, 7, guests on a show, and they're all talking at the same time.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah. And it's not quite as good as it was. What can you do? It's we probably have the same opinions about music.
Yes.
Talking about the stars and things like that. I wonder, when we're going to hear some Elvis from some other planet contacting us, because I'm sure whatever Elvis has been, whatever they've been broadcasting on Elvis for radio for the past 40 years is out in the cosmos somewhere. And someday or other, we're going to get to hear an Elvis from some other planet. And I'm looking forward to that. It's time we have some contact with some come on, aliens, where are you?
Well, didn't you hear that Trump closed the border so they're not? Oh, space aliens. I gotcha. Speaking about Trump, there was an interesting factoid that came across the wires today that 76% of all Americans, when Donald Trump is giving his daily news sessions from either the White House, Oval Office, or from wherever he is with whoever he is, 76% of all viewers shut their TVs off. I love it.
God bless the remote control.
Yeah. What I enjoy watching now are the congressional hearings. Like I'll tell you, watching Pam Bondi when she was on there, hell, it was better than watching the O.J. Simpson trial. And I just can't get over how sarcastic and disrespectful these so-called politicians are in the cabinet. The way they talk to senators and congressmen, isn't there a law against that, or there should be if there isn't?
It's changed quite a bit. It used to be, well, it really wasn't always respectful.
Yeah,
I remember it was pretty vicious many years ago, and now a lot of them do it for, quite honestly, as though they're actors stage. A lot of the people in the cabinet these days come from Fox News.
That's right. Yeah.
They're very talented broadcasters, and they're using the same, approach in these situations, as opposed to some lawyer who talks out of both sides of his mouth. So make your choice. Someone who's direct and and tells you, shoots from the hip, or someone who talks out of both sides of his mouth.
It's either shooting from the hip or shooting from the lip, one of the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Robert, stand by. You and I have to take another break. Exonation, Robert Barrows is our special guest this hour, www.barrows.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. You're listening to us on the CanCom Broadcast Network and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Hey, open the UFO files. Let's see what's there. Flying saucers, aliens, or just hot air. Every blurry light at 2 a.m. turns into a spaceship for them. Open the UFO files. Read every page. Area 50 fun or a storage cage. Turns out most things in the sky are satellites or some guy's drone flying by. Yeah. But dad's talk got folks all loud.
Ah, well, that's got to say Humpty Trumpty took a fall. That's for... Well, you're an ability man. I gotta win on and be impatient. No, Humpty Trumpty took a fall. Oh, it's the only way you bury ya. Humpty Trumpty sat on a wall, pointing at maps like he owned them all. Said Greenland's big, it's white, it's cold. I'll buy the thing just like I'm told. He waved a check, he made a grin. Forgot to ask the people living in. Turns out nations aren't for sale, no matter how loud the fairy tale. Humpty Trumpty took a fall when Denmark said no deal at all. All the bluster, all the brag, slid downhill on an icy flag. Humpty Trumpty learned too late, you can't buy countries, checkmate. He huffed, he puffed, he threatened might, posted memes deep into the night, said I'll take it one way or another. World said, buddy, read the cover. Greenland laughed beneath the snow, NATO sighed and whispered no. Diplomacy's not monopoly, you don't pass go with ego fee. Humpty Trumpty took a fall from the tallest wall of all the tweets and tough guy talk cracked like ice beneath his walk. Humpty Trumpty hit the ground, ownership dreams officially drowned. No receipt, no refund, no empire built on frozen ground. Humpty Trumpty took a fall, the loudest flop the world recalls. Gold-plated dream, zero control, turns out you can't own the North Pole. Humpty Trumpty, lesson learned, maps aren't deeds, and ice gets burned. Humpty Trumpty left the wall, still claiming it was rigged and all, but Greenland stayed right where it stood, independent, free, and not for sale. Period. Humpty
Robert Barrows is our guest. Barrows.com is the website. Robert, whatever happened to your video tombstones?
Nada. Nothing really happened with it, at least from my end. But there is a company in Slovenia who put out their own video tombstone, which they call a digital tombstone, which they're selling for about $4,000. I mean, the one that I had projected probably I would have estimated $40,000-$50,000, plus a huge perpetual care fund, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because you got to make it profitable for the cemeterian, for the funeral director, for the monument builder, for me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, one very interesting thing about the video tombstone, which the Slovenian company put out, is where I had specified a plexiglass screen to protect the tombstone and the video equipment from the elements. They actually use a bulletproof screen. They use bulletproof glass. So I've still been trying to contact producers and book publishers because the real money to be made from the video tombstone is based on stories, books, movies, and TV shows that would be built around stories told through video tombstones, like a Twilight Zone type series. And so I've still been pushing that. But let me go back to something else.
Sure.
During the intro to this segment, where you were doing the Humpty Trumpty song, many years ago, a friend of mine was out of work. She needed a job. The mayor's race in San Francisco was wide open. So I said, why don't you run for mayor? Why don't you run for office? And she did. She registered to run for office. She run for mayor. And while I was thinking about that, I started writing a poem called Run for Office. Out of work, need a job, run for office. Big debts, lots of sex, run for office. Get elected, get protected. You even get elected, get respected. You even get yourself protected. And it goes on like that. Which race is open? I'm ready to go. Toss in my hat, and here comes the dough. Let it flow. So many years later, I got together with a musician named Gary Warren, and we put a song version together of Run for Office in another poem I wrote called Big Bucks. And we released them to radio stations that played rap and hip hop. Both songs got some airplay and got some decent airplay, and didn't really make any money on it, but it's kind of fun. And I also ran for office. When you start thinking thoughts like that and writing words like that, you all of a sudden you start thinking about running for office. So I ran for Congress in the Democratic primaries in my local district back in 2006 and again in 2008. And I lost both times. I didn't have any chance of winning, but it was kind of interesting. While I was running, I would be very helpful to people. I'd help people across the street. I'd pick up their packages and help them And then when I was after the election, I remember I walked across the street and I almost got hit by a car. So I cursed like hell at him. I thought to myself, hey, I'm back.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So why do you think you didn't win?
I was running against two very well-entrenched incumbents. The first when I ran in 2006, Tom Lantos had been in Congress for easily 20 years or so, and he was getting elderly. And I remember somebody in the Democratic Club asked me if I was counting on a big anti-war vote, and I joked and I said, "No, I'm counting on a heart attack." And about a year later, he died from cancer. And after he died, I decided, okay, I'll go in again. And then the other person I ran against, she had been a local congressperson. No, not a local congressperson, like a state senator or something like that. She'd been in local politics for many years, so I wasn't gonna beat her later. But in terms of like when they talk about elections and counting the votes and things aren't quite right, I got a call from a reporter at a radio station just a little bit after midnight on the night of the election, and he wanted to find out who I was because he said I got 85% of the vote in such and such district, which sounded absurd to me because there was no way I was going to get that. But maybe in some district I did get 85% of the vote. But overall, I only got 4% of the vote in that election. So something in that election was not quite legit or not quite right in terms of counting the vote, because no way I could have gotten 80 some odd percent of the vote.
Well, maybe it was that little old lady who helped across the street who went to church and she said, you know, that nice man that's running, Robert Barrows, you know, the guy who invented the tombstone that had the TVs on it. Well, he's running for Congress, and I think all of us parishioners should vote for him.
Maybe I might have just gotten lucky, or maybe the cemetery cast all their votes for me.
Yeah.
But there was a case in terms of where I forget when it was, but there was a box of ballots that they fished out of the San Francisco Bay one year, and nobody knew how those ballots wound up in a box in the bay.
Oh, maybe they were from Alcatraz. No, wait a minute. Isn't President Trump trying to revitalize and revamp Alcatraz and get it back into the penal system?
Yes, he is. And the odd thing is that there's no running water on the island. I think they used to ship water to the island, and there are no pipes running to that island right now, so they don't know quite what they're going to do with it. But if you ever get a chance to visit San Francisco, take the trip. It's fascinating to walk through there.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll wait till Trump does his thing. And I wonder if it's going to be white with gold.
Absolutely.
Hypothetically, if you were to be Trump's PR guy, what would you do? How differently would you run what he's doing? I mean, so he wasn't the worst hated man in American history in the political realm.
Well, first, I'm going to take my hat off to that woman, Karine Levitt or Catherine Levitt or whatever her name is.
Yes.
Yeah, she does an incredible job of protecting him.
Oh, yeah.
And covering for him.
She's a great liar. Yeah.
Yeah, and Caroline Levitt, and trying to explain what he does, even though you might, have the most vile reaction to it. But she does an incredible job of explaining what he does. And I think that's what you have to do as a PR person. No matter how bad your client is, you've got to protect them.
Because they pay the bills, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always amazed at lawyers who can do that, and I honestly couldn't. I have trouble lying. Every once in a while, when I would go for a job, they'd ask me what my strong points are, and I'd say, well, I can't lie, I can't cheat, I can't steal. Now, if that's okay with you. Let's see what happens. But they're not necessarily weak points.
When you look at it, all lawyers are PR agents for their clients.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And when they take on a guy who just shot, 10 children, it's amazing how they do that. And I remember listening to the O.J. Simpson trial just about every day, because I had a client who was about 45 minutes away by car. Mm-hmm. And I listened to that trial, on the radio, and it was just absolutely amazing, and if I ever did anything wrong, I want Johnny Cochran as my lawyer. He did such a good job protecting OJ.
I discovered something really great during the O.J. Simpson trial. Captain Crunch and orange juice. A great mix. Just couldn't get enough of either of them. I'd sit in front of the TV with a box of Captain Crunch and a gallon of orange juice, and away I'd go. I'd be happy.
That makes sense. I understand that totally.
When we come back from this break that we're going to have to take in about 40 seconds from now, I'd like to get your opinion on the social media aspect of the media these days. Let's take a look at X. Let's take a look at the Truth Social. That cracks me up. The Truth Social must be an oxymoron in there somewhere. Oh, wait a minute. That's the president. Okay.
And I've been banned from X, but we'll talk about that.
Robert, stand by. You and I will be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour. Let me try that again. As we wrap up this hour, you notice how the words kind of merge sometimes? Here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, my guest, Robert Barrows. And strange times these days, I'll tell you. Very strange. We're on the cusp of something wonderful, our psychics keep telling us. And I keep waking up and saying, when? Where? How? We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Cold, I'll buy the thing just like I'm told. He waved a check, he made a grin. Forgot to ask the people living in. Turns out nations aren't for sale, no matter how loud the fairy tale. Oh! Humpty Trumpty took a fall when Denmark said no deal at all. All the bluster, all the brag, slid downhill on an icy flag. Humpty Trumpty learned too late, you can't buy countries. Checkmate. Woo! He huffed, he puffed, he threatened might. Posted memes deep into the night. Said I'll take it one way or another. World said buddy, read the cover. Greenland laughed beneath the snow. NATO sighed and whispered no. Diplomacy's not monopoly. You don't pass go with ego fee. Oh, Humpty Trumpty took a fall from the tallest wall of all the tweets and tough guy talk cracked like ice beneath his walk. Humpty Trumpty hit the ground.
Melania walks in slow-mo style. Melania walks in slow-mo style. Melania pauses, waits a while. Melania stares like there's a plan. Melania. Amazon said, yes ma'am. Big budget glow, no rush at all. Melania framed on a marble wall. Is this a film or a perfume ad? Melania looks deep, very serious, very sad. Melania hush, Melania pose. Melania knows how the spotlight goes. Say nothing loud, say nothing clear. Melania whispers, relevance is here. Melania, lights, camera, Melania. Strike that pose, look cinematic. Melania, media opportunia. Silent scenes, but very dramatic. Following footsteps, polished and planned.
All right, we've given her 1 minute, 14 seconds of fame here on the X Zone. Robert Barrows is our guest. And Robert, how did you ever get kicked off of X?
Oh, I basically used it almost like an advertising vehicle, and I'd send out a couple of hundred messages a day, promoting whatever I'm, promoting, whether it's a video tombstone or books I wrote or, the songs I co-wrote. And they'd say, hey, you're kind of using this as spam. And then they would reinstate me. And then I signed up for their, whatever they call it, their premium thing or something like that. It was like $14 a month.
Yeah.
Where you could send out a longer version. So I would send out longer versions of my spam with my phone number, with my ad agency name in there and my phone number. And they said, hey, we can't allow you to do that anymore. So the unfortunate thing about Twitter, X, is they never respond to you. So I would, write them back that says, look, I'm going to be a good boy. I promise to be a good boy. I'll stop the spam. I'll, renew my premium subscription, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be very nice. And, but they never get back to you. You can write them and write them and write them. It's kind of like when Musk came in and, fired thousands of people, in the first couple of months of the Trump administration. Right. He fired so many people from X, from companies. So, in other words, you must have done the same thing at X. and nobody ever gets back to you. So basically, I can't post on X anymore. So I'll spend my time on Facebook and LinkedIn and Blue Sky. I'm not really, well, I'm kind of hooked on Facebook. I look at it a lot. It's always interesting to see what, friends and associates are posting on stuff like that. It's funny. We live in an apartment complex, excuse me, that has a pool and a hot tub. And when you go into the hot tub, there are people in 5 or 6 people, and most of them always have their telephones with them. And it's gotten so that people don't say I'm going to the hot tub. They say I'm going to the phone booth because they're that hooked on social media. And it's really quite amazing. And it is addictive. It is very addictive. It's sad to hear all the bad stories about people who are connecting with chatbots and killing themselves and killing other people. And it is really, it's hard to, it's there. The downside of it is very annoying. And going back to robots for a minute, with robots so prescient and smart and able to carry on conversation, I wonder how soon it's going to be where somebody introduces legislation that prohibits robots from running for office.
Well, I hope that doesn't pass, because I'm sure the robots would be much more able to do the job than a lot of the politicians currently are. I was watching today, it was, Hegseth was defending the budget. And there was one senator, I swear to God, they must have had the paddle stuck to him to keep him awake. and you're like, come on, you're supposed to be alive, get some oomph into it. And it's rather sad when you sit back and you'd rather watch the politics than the other stuff that's on TV these days.
Yeah, I understand.
Whatever happened to Candid Camera? Whatever happened to Perry Mason, the Dick Van Dyke Show? Mary Tyler Moore. The good stuff.
Well, luckily they're still on, at least where I am. We get a lot of that stuff on different channels and in the remote. And the other thing is the ad breaks on many of the television shows. I used to be a traffic manager at a television station in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, you could sell, they had in a half hour, there were 7.5 minutes worth of ads.
Yeah.
And they were regularly spaced out in 2-minute segment, two, and 1.5. And I was responsible for scheduling the ads, and you'd schedule them so you'd try not to put 2 car dealer ads together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Today, when I watch something like the ABC World News, the first 15 minutes, they'll go through the news, the stories, pretty much everything you want to know. Then they'll do like a 1-minute ad break and then come back with another short ad break. And then in the other half of the show, they'll do like what feels like an 8-minute ad break.
Yeah.
So and there's no way to watch that. So you just use the remote to click on other channels. And a lot of programs are doing that these days. A lot of movies, when you watch them, the first hour will be, have very few commercials in it. And the second hour, forget it. It's going to be commercial after commercial after commercial.
Unless you pay for the service like Netflix or Amazon Prime and Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And I wonder how the hell are they making any money? Because I'm sure that even though there are, 77, what's the population of the U.S. today?
I'm going to say 300 million.
Okay. Even if you had 300 million people watching TV with all the different channels out there, I really don't know how they survive. And then you've got all the stuff that's on the internet.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. But let me go back to one thing. Just before the break, you mentioned something about psychics.
Yes, yes.
And I'll tell you an interesting story. Long time ago, I had a girlfriend and she was a witch. Okay. And she was a lovely woman.
Oh, this
But
is good. This sounds like it's going to be a kinky tale. You've got my interest.
no, but she was
Oh.
a witch, a certified witch. And in terms of psychic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
one time at the Renaissance Fair, she was she was doing tarot card readings. And she tells me about this story. She's reading tarot cards for this man. And in the middle of the reading, she says, "Excuse me for asking this. I don't know how to put this, but are you involved in anything that might just be a little illegal or something like that?" And he says, "Continue, please continue." so she draws another card.
Uh-huh.
And she says, "I think there is somebody in your organization who's out to get you." And he says, "Continue, please, continue." So she deals another card and she describes the man a little bit. He says, "Can you tell me any more about the person?" And she deals a few more cards, and he gets up and says, "Thank you very, very much." Gives her a tip for $200.
Wow.
And what I don't know is if anybody got whacked 2 days later.
Okay.
She didn't know that either, but that's how good a tarot card
Wow,
reader
that is great.
she was.
You know what the
Yeah.
bad part is? When you were telling that story about organized crime, the possibility of organized crime, and your girlfriend being a great psychic. For some reason, the number 8647 crossed my mind, and
Yeah.
you know, what would Pat Boone do with love letters in the sand? How do we know that he didn't put the 8647 there? And maybe 86 stood for something else. Let's see, 86 seashells with 47 trombones in the big parade. I don't know.
It's and it's pretty scary, the prosecutions that are going on in America. And if you were broadcasting from America with some of the stuff
That I do? Yeah, sure. I'd be off the air. No problem.
Absolutely. Like it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to watching. I'm not looking forward to watching the final, broadcast of the Late Show with Stephen Colbert in a couple of weeks. And I'm wondering what that last show is going to be like.
I can see Jimmy Kimmel taking over for him because he's already starting to do a great job of that. And it's just crazy. I don't know. Old time late night TV used to be really great with Carson, and it was. And now I understand what my dad and mom meant by the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
My version of the good old days are the '60s and the '50s.
Yeah. Also, late night radio. I used to listen to Gene Shepard every night before I went to bed.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, I forget the name, but the person who was on after him, I'll remember the name an hour after this interview. I'd probably just Google it.
What was the topic? And I'll tell you.
It was just a talk show, and he would talk, and then he'd, have a guest on. I just forget who it was. Gene Shepard was just kind of like a comic who would talk about different aspects of culture.
Right.
And forget the person on after him. But I also used to listen to DJs, WNEW FM in New York. Had some very good DJs who you could listen to as well as listen to the music. So it was different times, different culture, different,
different technologies.
Yeah, easier to follow, certainly. And in terms of newspapers, c'est la vie. But I'm sure the kids these days, probably say the same thing about this times. Growing up
Robert, you and I have to say so long for tonight, my friend. Do me a favor, come on back and visit us in the near future.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
You take care of yourself. And Exonation, if you'd like to advertise on the moon, go to www.barrows.com. Robert Barrows has been my guest this hour. I'll be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, who stream us at classic1220.ca. Don't go away. We'll be right back.